Mobile device, here we go. Richard Burr is the Republican head of this committee. Marc Warner's the Democrat, minority ranking member there. They will make opening statements, we are told. In addition to Dan Coats, who's the director of national intelligence. I think we saw Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, a moment there. But that is how the table will be set, so to speak, in a matter of moments.
It will be. And let's bring in Marc Thiessen, a columnist for the Washington Post, a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, among many other talents he has. Marc, as we await here, we know, as we said, this is supposed to be about 702, the government's power to surveil and that kind of thing. But we know it's going to go a lot of other places today. Your thoughts?
Sure. Well, that's exactly right. There is what this hearing should be and what it is going to be. What it should be is about the fact that in the last few weeks we've had terrorist attacks in London, in Manchester, in Paris, this morning in Tehran, all driven by ISIS. And we have now the people in front of the committee who are responsible for making sure that doesn't happen in the United States. The hearing should be about, do you have the tools to prevent these attacks from happening here in the United States? What do you need from us in order to make sure those attacks don't happen, and all the rest of it? That is what the hearing is ostensibly about. That is not, however, what they're going to end up discussing. It's going to be, as you said, about Comey and Russia and trying to get Dan Coats to describe his private discussions with the president, which I expect he will refuse to do. We're going to try and get Andrew McCabe to walk back his statements earlier that there is no interference in the Russia investigation. It's going to be a political circus, and hopefully that political circus doesn't harm our national security by making, because they've got to their job is to reauthorize Section 702 of the FISA Act, which is how we spy on ISIS. So that's the job.
Okay, so you mentioned D&I Coats. He obviously is a former senator himself. These guys know each other. I mean, they have a relationship, but he is going to be pushed on those accusations that he was pressured by the president with regard to the Russia investigation. We have an on-the-record statement coming to us through Catherine Herridge saying Director Coats does not discuss his private conversations with the president. However, he has never felt pressured by the president or anyone else in the administration to influence any intelligence matters or ongoing investigations. I mean, we see a lot of and hear a lot of statements in Washington that parse words very carefully. And you can see Senator Dianne Feinstein, Democrat there, arriving and stopping briefly at the microphones. We'll try to get a tidbit of anything she may have to say. But that statement to me sounds pretty airtight. Not a lot of nuance.
And look, Comey also made clear, even after he had these conversations with President Trump, he testified that there was no interference in the investigation and there was no obstruction of justice. ABC News is reporting that he's going to say the same thing tomorrow. So, you know, is it inappropriate for the President of the United States to ask the FBI director to go easy on Flynn, or to ask the DNI to talk to the FBI director about that? Yeah, it's inappropriate. Is it illegal? No, it's not illegal. And so, you know, as long as there's no evidence of obstruction of justice, you know, you've got a former DNI clapper going around comparing this to Watergate. You just had Mike Huckabee on earlier in the last hour about this. It's absurd. In Watergate, there was a crime. There was a break-in of the Watergate Hotel in the DNC headquarters. There's no evidence that any crime took place. In fact, Clapper and others have testified that there's no evidence yet of any collusion that they have seen. So there's no crime. And then, second of all, there's no obstruction of justice. That's what brought down Richard Nixon, was obstruction of justice. He was on tape offering to pay off the Watergate conspirators with hush money. There's no evidence that there was any obstruction of justice in this case. So this is a political assault on the Trump administration to try and delegitimize Donald Trump, when what they should be doing in this hearing is focusing on our national security.
Marc, it was reported late yesterday that James Comey will stop shy of saying there was obstruction of justice. But I think what is important today and tomorrow is the context and the tone for how they deliver the recalling of the conversation. I think it's very important. I don't know after 2 days, Marc, whether or not America, or even Washington, I should say, is satisfied. Because I believe whether you're Republican and you support this administration, you will find what you want to hear in these two hearings. And if you're a Democrat and you're suspicious of collusion, you will pick and choose what you want to hear also.
I agree with you. I think look, there is evidence clearly that there were inappropriate conversations. There's evidence that Russia tried to interfere with our elections. There's an investigation going on by Bob Mueller, as special counsel. I mean, one of the advantages of having a special counsel, I know Trump didn't want one, but one of the advantages of it is that this is supposed to depoliticize the whole process. He's supposed to go through and systematically look at the evidence, talk to people, and do this behind the scenes without leaking, without big public hearings and all the rest of it, and do his job. And that's what we should be doing, happening. This public spectacle doesn't help us at all.
As we get ready here, there's news too. Christopher Wray apparently will be the one that President Trump wants to lead the FBI. That will be his nominee when that's placed in the nomination officially. And now you're 24 hours later after the story that broke in Augusta, Georgia, that showed a 25-year-old woman who leaked a document that suggests that Russian intelligence was trying somehow, to some degree or some level, to obstruct with the election by hacking into a voting machine. How do you believe that is characterized today, and does that play to one side or the other?
I don't think that plays to one side or the other. I think what we're supposed to have, there's two different things. There is trying to prove that Donald Trump colluded with or his top aides colluded with Russia to steal the election from Hillary Clinton, which is a political witch hunt. Trump is right when he says that. And second is the fact that we all agree on that Russia tried to interfere with our elections. And that we should, in a bipartisan way, be investigating that and finding out how they did it, what they did, in order to prevent that from happening again. I think everyone, Republicans and Democrats, agrees that we don't want Russia interfering in our elections, period. So there should be a nonpartisan approach to make sure that we come together as a country and make sure that didn't happen. And what she leaked apparently indicates that. That's very different from trying to delegitimize the Trump presidency and compare this to Watergate, which at least so far, there's no evidence it's even close.
So the players are now in the room, Mark. Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats to make an opening statement. National Security Agency Director Admiral Mike Rogers, Acting FBI Director Andrew McCabe, and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein all set to testify in moments.
Yeah, and one of the senators who will be asking questions, Democrat Dianne Feinstein, apparently made a stop on the way in at the microphones outside. Didn't say a whole lot when asked about the potential FBI nominee the president has indicated will be Chris Wray. She said, quote, "He may be fine, but she didn't get a heads up." So she's going to have a lot of questions on all of these things today. Mark, quickly, as they are taking pictures and shaking hands and doing all the niceties of getting this started, how much do you think today, because it's the very same committee tomorrow, is going to be about laying the groundwork, the framework for Comey questions tomorrow?
Oh, very much so. This is the pregame before the big show tomorrow. So I think they're going to try and get. They're going to focus pretty hard on Andrew McCabe to walk back what he said in the previous time that he testified, where he said that there was no interference. They're going to try and get some daylight there. They're going to try and set up a pattern, the Democrats, a pattern of inappropriate, and they will allege unlawful behavior on the part of Donald Trump, which will set up questions for tomorrow, no question.
Thank you, Mark. Marc Thiessen with us today, and this is Senator Richard Burr
I'd like to thank our witnesses
from North
today.
Carolina, chairman of the committee.
National Intelligence